Hello everyone. Today I'm going to chat with you about a tightly plotted novel full of contradictions. After getting pregnant, the heroine has to confront the crisis of her identity being exposed and find her place in the complex supernatural power struggle. Can she get through the storm unscathed? Let's look forward to the exciting content of this novel together. Chapter 12. However, thoughts of my brother continue to plague my mind. The image of him in S. S clutches sent shivers down my spine. I knew I should speak up, take action, but the paralyzing fear of rejection and hatred stemming from my actions that fateful night kept me silent. The truth trapped behind my lips. With great effort, I dragged myself out of bed, a dull ache pulsing at my temples. I shuffled to the shower, hoping the warm water would alleviate my discomfort, but it only provided minimal relief. Donning my new attire, a pair of leggings and a loose, fitting top, I made my way downstairs, my movements sluggish and uncoordinated. To my surprise, Abby wasn't in her usual spot in the kitchen when I arrived. Instead, I was greeted by Martha's familiar, beaming face. "You hungry, dear?" she asked, approaching me with her characteristic smile. The mere thought of food made my stomach churn uncomfortably. "No, I might have something later," I replied, quickly adding before Martha could protest. "Have you seen Abby? She's left for the day." A voice behind me answered. I turned to see Annie, Abby's sister, her friendly face a welcome sight. "She's asked me to look after you today." Before I could respond, Annie's gaze shifted over my shoulder. "Morning, Martha," she said politely. I glanced back to see Martha's expression sour, muttering under her breath as she retreated. Turning back to Annie, I caught her sign and shaking her head. "Come," she said, gesturing for me to follow. As we exited the kitchen, curiosity got the better of me. "What was that about? With Martha?" I inquired, surprised by Martha's uncharacteristic dismissiveness. Annie chuckled, a hint of annoyance in her tone. "That's Martha for you when she's upset with someone," she explained. "For my daughter's birthday party, I wanted to make pink cupcakes, but Martha insisted on making conleone with pink, dyed filling. I tried to tell her that children don't really like conleone, but she got all defensive about it. Long story short, I baked the cupcakes without permission to use the kitchen, might have burnt them, and set off the fire alarm. I chuckle at the end bit, and she is all huffy-puffy over that." Annie looks at me surprised. "I am guessing you have never met an Italian woman like Martha before. The kitchen is their pride," she says with a fake Italian accent, which I laugh. I still haven't apologized yet. I am going to see her for the first time if she will initiate it. Good luck with that. We make it to a living room area, which is mainly empty except to people on the far couch. I recognize Sean, with who I am assuming is their daughter on his lap. "Lily, I met at the BBQ. You don't have to look after me. I think I will be all right." I said look after. "I meant more hang out," she says, a little guilty. She then turns to Sean and her daughter. "We were going to go on a walk today, then have a picnic. What do you say?" I bite my lip. I don't want to intrude, don't be ridiculous. I look over to see Sean answer, now listening into our conversation. "More the merrier. Isn't that right, Lily?" Lily squeals happily, and I can't help but laugh with everyone at her reaction. "Well, that's settled," Sean says, grabbing Lily under her arms as he gets up. He rests her on his hip. "We will go get the food, and see you in a bit." Sean passes us, making faces at his daughter, who giggles at him. I was about to follow, willing to help, when Annie gently guides me to the couch. "Don't worry, he can handle it. Let's have a little chat." We sit down. I am a little skeptical what this chat will be, but I decide to start the conversation. "Lily seems like a great little girl." Annie smiles. "Yeah, I couldn't be luckier. I can't believe she will be 3 in a week." I am assuming the cupcakes are for her birthday. I ask him. Danny nods. "Her party is Princess Fairy themed. That's what she wanted this year." Annie smiles with the shake of her head, but then it turns sad. I just hope the decorations can make up for the lack of friends. I look at her with confusion before she sighs. You might have noticed the shortage of children around the pack. I remember the very little amount of children at the barbecue. I only really counted 5. Yeah, I haven't seen many. Well, that's really because our pack consists mainly of deserters and those who have had nowhere else to go. It's not really a place to meet future life partners, but a place to get help and make friends. I was lucky to meet Sean. I listened to her words. I am guessing you wish Lily had more children to be around. I ask, understanding where she is coming from. I just want her to experience being around more kids her age. When she goes to school, I don't want it to be a huge shock for her to struggle. Annie sighs, and after a moment's silence she bumps my shoulders, white hers. But hey, at least Lily will have another little friend to play with soon. I smile, and the frown realizing what she is intending. I turn my head to her, my eyes squinting in question. Who told you? I whisper, surprised she knew. She smirks. Abby might be a badass, but she is still my little sister and I get everything out of her eventually. I sigh, not really angry at Abby but still going to get on her grill about it later. Sorry? I don't mean to tell anyone, it's fine. I reassure her. It would probably be obvious in a month or two anyways. Abby smiles an understanding smile. So when are you due? Early February. I reply and Annie smiles, about to ask another question before Sean walks in with Lily hot on his heels. Skipping. Annie. Sean sighs, and I can detect the annoyance in his voice. Martha refuses to give me any food, because apparently you haven't apologized yet. Annie growls silently and I can see her frustration. If you're suggesting that I go in there and say sorry, Martha can think again. Sean sighs, fine, if you would like to go out with an empty picnic basket. Be my guest. Annie rolls her head to the ceiling and grumbles to herself. Fine. Then she looks at Lily, dipping about before looking at me. Do you mind watching her for a couple minutes? I wave it off. That's fine. With that she smiles and leans down to give Lily a kiss on the forehead and walks to the direction of the kitchen with Sean. I turn my attention back to a bubbly Lily, who seems confused at her parents leaving before looking at me still sitting on the couch. She smiles and it's one of those moments where I have to come up with something to say. If I am honest, I don't think I was the best with kids. Someone told me you like princess fairies. I state and her eyes light up. Lily then for the next couple of minutes skips around in front of me, with the occasional whirl telling me about her favorite fairy princess. Then she wants me to play the original named game of Fairy Princess game with her and I get up from the couch a little too quickly. My head goes all fuzzy, spots bubbling and blurring my vision. My head pounds as I find the armrest to lean on. This was before I become too dizzy and my legs gave out. Still holding on to the armrest for dear life. Leaning on it I can hear Lily stop. Are you okay? Brooke, she asks. Slight worry in her voice and I decide not to try and look at her. My vision becoming out of focus, I can only stare at the ground to keep conscious. Yeah, honey. Can you just go get you mom? I think I asked. My ears echoing in and out like I am in a tunnel. I concentrate on staying upright, not to frighten Lily. I hear her little footsteps run away and my arms decide then to give out as I slump to the floor. Fear grips me as I try and stay awake, but it is becoming more difficult as darkness swims over my vision. The last thing I hear is my name being called before the lights finally go out. I wake up with a start, not realizing where I am. Panic starts to set in as I am laying in an unfamiliar bed, surrounded by light blue curtains. I am about to get up but wince when I feel a tug and a pinch on my left hand. I look down to see a drip attached, still unaware of where I am and why I am here. Getting a little flustered, I jump when the curtain on my left is ripped open and drive. Norton stands there, a smile on his face. Good. You're awake, Brooke, he says calmly, before pulling the curtain back for privacy again. What happened? I drift off trying to piece together my memories, then one awful thought pops into my head and I freak out. Is the baby okay? You and the baby are perfectly fine. He reassures me quickly and I feel like I can breathe properly again. I must say you were quite lucky today. Brooke, what happened? I repeat again, looking at Drive. Norton as he pulls something out of his white jacket pocket. It seems you fainted, he states simply. I see the object now in his hand to be a little flashlight. I am just going to make sure you don't have a concussion of any kind when you fell. But Betty instructs me to sit up to test my eyes with the flashlight, and once satisfied he clicks it off. No concussion, he remarks happily before walking around to stand at the end of the bed again. Drive Norton is about to say something when the curtain to my left is ripped open again. And there stand Abby and Grant. A look of pure concern on their faces. I silently groan as I remember what happened. Annie just had to tell them. What happened? Grant asks, which sounded more like an order. Urgency in his voice, and I see him look to me then to Drive. Norton. Well, I was just about to explain to Brooke. Before you decided to join us. He says, a little annoyed at the dramatic entrance, but he clears his throat before continuing. Brooke just fainted this morning, and her and the baby are fine, he says to Grant and Abby before turning back to me. I think it was caused by lack of sleep and possibly food. Did you eat anything this morning? I think back to this morning. Do just remember turning down Martha's offer of breakfast. I bite my lip and shake my head. I hear the sigh from Drive. Norton. Well, in the future, Brooke, it is important to take care of yourself, especially for the next few months. I nod my head. Yes, I understand. Can I go back to my room? Drive Norton sadly smiles. I think it's best to keep you here overnight just to make sure everything is okay. I will make sure you get brought some lunch. He turns to Grant and Abby, still standing between the curtains. Seeing how we are a little understaffed at the moment, I would assume one of you wouldn't mind watching Brooke in the meantime until tomorrow morning. I say thanks to Drive. Norton who leaves, and I return my attention to the two adults now playing rock. Paper. Scissors. Abby does rock and Grant pulls scissors, and I see him whisper a curse under his breath as Abby does a little victory dance. Grant grunts before turning around, and Abby smiles before closing the curtains again and comes to join me. What was the about? I question, Abby plunking down on the seat beside my bed. He has the night shift of watching over you, Abby says in victory, and I can't help but shake my head and laugh. Chapter 13. It seemed Martha had cooked me up a feast and sent it to the medical clinic for me to eat. She has given me a big portion of lasagna, with salad, a couple slices of garlic bread, and for afterwards a few chocolate cannoli. I was glad that Abby stayed and helped me finish the mass of food that I am guessing Martha wants me to finish. Damn, I should get pregnant so Martha can cook me food as good as this, Abby states, before tilting her head to the side and taking a bite out of the cannoli. I give her a dry look, which was hard because the chocolate cream filling smeared on her chin. A little annoyed by her statement, I reply, "You know, I don't need someone to babysit me. You are free to leave." Abby just shakes her head with a cheeky smile. "No, I'm right sitting here. It's quite comfy." I sigh heavily, changing the topic. What did Norton say about being understaffed? Abby's playful attitude dies down when I mention this. Well, there is normally 3 doctors here, but my sister is occupied at S.R.O. I feel a slight stab of guilt at bringing that. It would not be easy having her work there, undercover at a place like S.R.O. Although I guess I know what it's like to have a sibling mixed up with them. Who's the other doctor? I ask, not having met another medical staff member since I have been here. Dickel. But she is a physiologist and doesn't really work in the medical clinic. Abby explains. She helps people that have been through hard times, like most of us that joined this pack. I was surprised at first that a pack would have its own physiologist, but for this specific pack it makes sense. It seems all the people I have met here so far have experienced some trauma in their life. Annie's husband, Sean, with his one eye, which I was told the other was taken by S.R.O., or Vera the third in command, was abducted by Dom, having his tongue cut out and never to speak again. The list can go on and on. Abby gets up from her seat beside my bed. She leans over and retrieves the tray of food that we have managed to devour. I will just return this to the kitchens. Be back to baby. "See you shortly." I give her an amused face, but she smiles up before leading through a small gap in the curtains. I stay there in silence, my eyes having nothing but dull blue curtains to look at. I wonder my gaze to the chair Abby was sitting in moments ago to see it not empty. A mobile phone lies there. Staring at it makes me wonder what happened to my phone. I must have left it in my trashy hotel room I was staying at in New York. It was a burner phone and I only used it once or twice a week to call my step-mother, who I haven't talked to in 2 months. I am already stretching across from my bed to grab the phone. My fingers are dialing the number. It's ringing. 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 "Hello. It's Vicky." Her voice soothes me just by hearing it, but the words about to come from my mouth get lodged in my throat. What do I say? Panic stops me. "Hello. Hello." She says down the phone and I hang up. What was I supposed to say? "Hey ma, sorry I haven't called in a couple months, but Jordan, your son has been captured by SER, an association doing experiments on the supernatural. I had a one-night stand and got pregnant before being captured by SER. Myself and was rescued by a pack and was reacquainted with the one-night stand man. Who is the father of the baby? How are you?" I chuckle sadly at the look of horror that would have been planted on her face. No matter how much I would love her support, it's safer she doesn't know where I am. If SER got a hold of her, I would never forgive myself. But I do miss her. Exhaustion caught up to me as I find myself waking up in the dim-lighted curtained-off area. Laying on my side, facing the right, I see a figure sitting on the chair, their knees in my direct view. My eyes travel up to see Grant's face staring away in the distance. Deep in I croak, my voice grouchy from sleep. Grant's sighs snap to me as I adjust myself, trying to pull the sheets around my body. What time is it? Grant pulls his phone from his pocket. The screen lights up his face, which allows me to see the bags under his eyes. It's nearly midnight. I nod. Silence follows as I find my eyes blinking shut again, but Grant speaks up. "Who did you call?" He questions, his voice plain and yet curious. In my drowsy state, I find myself questioning him. "What?" I yawn. Abby checked her phone to find that she had someone to find, but she had somehow called a number she had never seen before. Grant explains and I realize what he means now. There is no point denying it. My mom. Grant goes quiet for a few more seconds. It was a very short phone call. My eyes are shut. Sleep surrounds me as I find myself talking. I hung up. I didn't know what to say to her. "That's understandable," I hear Grant whisper. "What about you?" I question, snuggling into my pillow as another yawn escapes me. "What about me?" Grant sighs. "Your mom, your family, where are they?" I am met with silence, and sleep erases my awareness of the situation, and from what Grant says, it makes me insensitive. They're dead. No emotion was even used in that short clipped sentence. But my brain does not register the pain and heartfelt I should feel for those words. I keep the dreaded conversation going. "How did they die?" Another long pause before a flat answer. "They were killed." I don't say anything else. I find myself surrendering to my teared body. I go to move my hand to adjust my sheets again, but wince when it tugs on the drip attached to the back of my hand. "It'll help," Grant whispers, and I feel the sheet sliding up my body and his hand brushes mine. On instinct, I hold on to it. The warmness makes me clasp on a little tighter as well from the comfort it provides. "I'm sorry." "Grant," I murmur, fearing my words are coming out slurred. "I'm sorry about you family." Thinking that Grant will slip his hand out of my loose in my hold, but only find his hand tighten around mine. And with that reassuring hold, I fall asleep. Chapter 14. I feel myself wake up, but immediately close my eyes again from the harsh lighting of the room. My body is slightly stiff from the hard mattress, but when I am about to move, I realize my hand is being held. A little surprised, I slowly blink my eyes open and tilt my head down to see my hand clasping another. My eyes travel up the other person's arm and I am greeted with Grant. fast asleep with his body slumped in the chair. All memories of what happened last night come flooding back. I wish I could slap myself for being so oblivious to what I was asking. Although I find it odd how Grant answered the questions about his dead family. It was just like he was stating a simple fact compared to something so emotional. I guess we deal with grief in all different ways. I feel a slight squeeze of my hand and shut my eyes again on instinct. After a slight groan and what seems to be crackling bones, Grant's hand and mine goes tense, still pretending to be asleep. I wait for the possible awkward reaction from Grant but instead receive another gentle squeeze and his thumb drawing circles on the back of my hand. I hear the creak of the chair from when he gets up and then, to my surprising disappointment, he lets go of my hand. Although he carefully moves it under the sheets of the bed, before adjusting the blanket up and over my body. I can feel him lingering and I try not to squirm uncomfortably, but I finally hear his footsteps and the sliding of the curtains. After the slight pinch of removing the drip, and the lecture I received, drive, Norton finally allows me to leave. He also gave me some prenatal vitamins that he seemed to be overly stocked with because not many women in the pack become pregnant when walking out of the medical clinic, a two section at the back of the house. I find myself wandering to the kitchen. Martha was busy discussing recipes for dinner that night and I didn't want to disturb her. In the pantry I look for any food but don't find any snack items. To me it's not bad having fresh ingredients, but I started craving something. Salty. Pretzels. I had read in my new pregnancy book that cravings hit you at any time. I'm groaning when I exit the pantry, my search being unsuccessful in anything I wanted to eat. Pretzels was all I wanted. It was weird, I was never fussing about food before. Out of the kitchen I bump into Abby in the dinner area. Row upon row of polished wooden tables, with not many seats occupied. "Hey, when did you get out of the medical clinic?" she asks, giving me a quick hug. "About half an hour ago." I state, and that's when I notice Grant pop his head around the entry to the dining area. When seeing me he smiles, coming around to meet us. "It's good to see you up and about again. How are you feeling?" Grant asks, and I try and not blush from this morning and what happened with our holding hands situation. "Much better." Dr. Norton gave me a pretty firm lecture. I say. Abby and Grant chuckle. He tends to do that to most of his patients. Grant adds before turning to look at Abby. "Ready to go soon." Abby rolls her eyes. "Ready and waiting." Grant gives a tight smile, probably trying to restrain himself for once against Abby and her abruptness, to move the conversation along. I ask, "Where are you going?" "The mall once again." Abby explains. It's an organized monthly trip for anyone in the pack who needs to go shopping because not everyone has a car. And it's a pretty long drive. This sparks my attention. "Can I come?" I can see Abby hesitate on her next words and Grant's smile turns to a frown. I was guessing their reaction would be like this. "I don't think that it is a good idea," Grant says, trying to let me down easy, although the strictness in his voice says otherwise. "It was that long ago, Oh, found you there." It's true. When Abby took me out on a shopping trip, we were ambushed by us. I guess we were lucky with Abby only receiving a surface wound from a bullet laced with silver. I know, but the tracker is gone. I just feel like I have to get out of the house today. I say, pleading with my big eyes like I was a child again. After being cooped up in a hospital bed all day and night, I feel the need to get out. Grant looks at me with a hard look on his face, contemplating on whether I should go or not. When he sighs with defeat, I pull a smile. "Fine, you can go. But you have to stay in a group at all times." "Don't worry, I'll take care of her," Abby says, looping an arm around my shoulders. Grant does a curt nod, probably unhappy that I am going. At least he tries to hide it. "Good. We'll leave in 15 minutes. Grant walks out of the dining area. "Why do you want to go anyways?" Abby asks, leaning in to look at me. "I need pretzels." I state simply, and Abby gives me a puzzled look. "Cravings." Abby then smiles, shaking her head, pulling away from me. "You know, you could have just asked. I would have bought you some back." I shake my head. "No, it's fine. Besides, it would take over 4 hours for you to deliver them back, once you include the driving and the time taken by purchasing. It's better if I go with you so I can eat them straight away. Abby just laughs at me. You have too much time to think about these things. She turns to me again. I am wondering where you are going to keep the pretzels because no way in hell will Martha let them be stored in her pantry. I hadn't really thought about that. Martha isn't into, as she would call, junky food. I'll just keep them in my room, so you don't have to share with anyone. Abby smirks and I smile. Precisely. I wink. She shakes her head with a laugh. Come on, Ms. Prego Ares. We better start getting reading to leave. Before I can complain about the nickname, she is pushing me out of the dining area. It was really a long drive to the mall, probably because I had been on the same route about a week ago. I was in a car with Abby, Annie, Sean, and a very bubbly Lily. I still wonder where children get all their energy even in a long car trip. Once inside the mall, I don't have to tell Abby word ahead as we make our way to the grocery shop. On the way there, I catch a glimpse of shop in the corner of my eye. Abby and I walk in there and I make a quick purchase before continuing the journey to the grocery shop. Abby and I are walking down the aisles. I had picked up a basket, but it was filled with mostly Abby's items so far. Do you really drink protein shakes? I ask as she goes through the different flavors on the shelf. So far, it was filled with a lot of health food. Some I would DF and ably eat, or some to the point I would stay clear of. What they're good for you, she says, dropping a chocolate and mango-flavored one in the basket. I cringe thinking about what that would taste like. I look down and across to the other side of the shop. Longingly, all I want is that salty goodness, which are my pretzels. It is my growing impatience when I force the basket to Abby. She nearly drops it as she protests. Hey, what are you doing? Dive Norton says I shouldn't be lifting anything heavy. I remark with a smirk, even though we both know the basket is as light as feather. It'll be back. I am just going to get what came I here for. Abby was barely paying attention as she murmurs a reply. Back to looking at the different flavorings again. I wander off the other side of the shop and finally find the right aisle. I smile brightly when spotting a bag of pretzels. I grab them, about to head back to Abby, but then find myself becoming a kid in a candy store. Spoiled for choice. There is other flavors beside the original salty one I have chosen, and I spend my time looking at the cinnamon seeds into the chocolate coated. In the midst of my choosing, I feel a presence come alongside me. I step to the side, to allow them access if needed, but they linger, having trouble choosing. Sweetheart. The voice puts me on edge. The oversapping charm used to say it makes me look up to find a man standing beside. He is around my age, but with slight greasy dark hair and a tatty leather jacket. The vibe I am getting from this guy is run for the hills. And who wants to pick up girls at the grocery shop anyways? I'm fine. Thanks. I hope my voice carries some warning. Although I don't think this guy has gotten the message. I hear him sniff the air quite loudly, and as I look away I furrow my eyebrows in confusion as to why he was breathing in so deeply. About to walk away with my chosen selection of all 3 flavors, the random guy says, Is that a bun and you're of a nice smell? I stop dead in my tracks. Werewolf. I had known the feeling so many times. I didn't realize I had a smell that indicated I was pregnant, but either way, this guy shouldn't know. Who's asking? I spit out, not turning around to face him yet. The pack. In which territory are you on right now? He informs me. Sick amusement laces his words. However you mask you sent is clever, sweetheart, but not clever enough. You're coming with me, rogue. In my confusion at his last sentence, I didn't have that much time to react as he grabs my forearm. On instinct, I rip myself from his grasp, dropping my pretzels in the process. His shock of my action doesn't last long as he reaches for me again. His hand extends out and I grab his wrist, using my thumb to turn his whole arm back in an awkward angle, pushing outwards. He cries out, "Adding you crazy bitch." This was before I kicked him in the stomach, sending him to the ground in a heap. In the next second I am being pulled backwards. An arm is encased around my neck and like always I claw the attacker. In one huge mighty hope that I still have the strength. With a massive grunt, I push all my weight forward. By luck, I don't think my attacker was expecting this as he flips over my body, landing on the other guy who had just got up, wheezing for breath again. I take a few steps back, rubbing my tender neck and as well as hoping it will soothe my sore throat. The two sleazy guys scramble to their feet, taking one step towards me before stopping, thinking somehow I have scared them half to death. It was tempting to scare them some more, but I soon realized I was the reason they halted. As quick as anything, I feel someone brush past my shoulder. Grant walks, with long yet graceful strides, to the attackers. I can see the guy with the leather jacket gaping for words to say, but Grant yanks both guys towards him by their collars. I didn't quite catch what words Grant used, but the harshness in his whispers meant they weren't pleasant. After a minute of a one-way discussion, Grant turns around back to me. He seems to do a quick sweep of my body, as if to see if I was all right. "Come," he says, softly yet still making it sound like an order. However, I don't complain as I turn around, heading the opposite direction from the attackers. As we walk away, I feel Grant put a hand on the small of my back. It was though. It felt more protective. Chapter 15. Without many words. I was escorted to our SUV by Grant, with Abby hot on our heels at the underground car park. Grant opened the door to the passenger side, motioning me, and before closing the door, once seated, I hear muffled yelling and see Abby and Grant have yet another argument outside. Grant's the first to walk away as he shakes his head, coming around the front of the car to the driver's side. Abby huffs out and hops in the back. She sits directly behind me as Grant opens his door before slamming it shut. He turns on the car, tilting his head back to reverse out. When we hit the highway, we sit yet again in silence. I can hear Abby doing something in the back, but I don't feel comfortable asking. However, as the quiet car journey goes on, the silence drives me to the point where it becomes unbearable. Is someone going to tell me who those Danny Zuko wannabes were? I say, thinking about their style. Gel jet greasy hair accompanied with worn leather jackets. They looked like they were from the musical Grease. Grant grunts a laugh out, turning to me. When seeing my serious expression, he frowns and turns his attention back to the road. They are from the Cypress Back. Their territory is where we are right now, he informs me, giving me a quick glance. We had arranged an agreement today for our pack members to come to the mall. I understand now why they said it's their territory, but something else dose and add up from that answer. That he called me a rogue. Grant sighs. Well, we're a pretty small pack compared to others, so today at the mall, those guys are stationed there to intercept any potential dangerous people. They are pretty familiar with our pack members, but seeing a new face, they were suspicious. I mean, it could have been avoided if someone didn't leave your side. I hear from the back a dramatic sigh. Firstly, Brooke left me, not the other way around. Abby facts, which is true. I am about to butt in on what I think to be babysat all the time, but Abby continues. And secondly, I think she can take care of herself. You got to teach me that move. Brooke, completely confused at what she is talking about. I crane my neck to look over my shoulder to see Abby watching something on her phone screen. Her eyes move from the screen to see me watching. She smiles that cheeky smile before turning around her phone. The video is a little grainy, so it takes me a while to see it as actual security footage of the grocery store. The screen flashes to me getting caught in a headlock, before flipping the guy over and knocking the other person down again as he had just gotten up. I bite my lip. How did you get that? We have some friends who work security in the mall. Don't worry, they will delete it. Abby waves it off and I turn back around in my seat and relax again. My neck is still a little stiff from the high-graded defense move I had performed less than half an hour ago. As I am rolling my neck to stretch it, another question comes to mind from what happened today. When that guy found me, he was able to sniff me and tell me I was pregnant. He called me a rogue even though I am technically not a werewolf. But I think he was able to sense that the baby was werewolf and I am cut off by Grant. What exactly is your question, Brooke? I take a deep breath, annoyed that he interrupted me but embarrassed that I was rambling. That night, When Abby and I arrived at the pack house, you knew the baby was yours when you put your hand on my stomach. I guess it just got me thinking about how that worked. Grant's hands tighten on the steering wheel. I sit and wait for answer, and when I think I won't get one, he speaks up. Well, Tin, that guy today was a tracker and they have a unique sense of smell. I can just about smell the baby too. But shadows have never been known for their good smell. We share certain connections. It's more of a mental sense of awareness. A feeling, and that night I felt a connection, and I don't know who to explain it. Grant drifts off, sounding almost slightly embarrassed, which is a new emotion I have now seen him express. Although I guess I will probably never know really what it means. But it somewhat makes sense. I can't smell the baby, Abby complains, and I try not to laugh as it sounds like she is snorting the air. Grant just rolls his eyes. However, the breed with the worst sense of smell, the white furs. It takes me a second to understand what he is referring. But then my eyes widen as I turn around to Abby. White furs are werewolves that are from snow and ice conditions around the world. You're a white fur? I ask, surprised and, if I am honest, slightly excited. In my old pack in California, everyone was a tracker with an occasion red coat. Abby seems slightly shocked by my excitement, but then her annoyed gaze goes to the back of Grant's head. I take offense to that. She crosses her arms. What? It's true. Grant says it in a factual tone. What is there to smell but snow and ice? It practically has no scent. You rely on sight and hearing more. Abby tusks. Probably because Grant is right and has nothing to defend back with. If you're a white fur, where do you originally come from? Alaska. It's my first thought since it's the closest place I can think of where a majority of the white furs would come from if they migrated here. Switzerland. Abby says, giving a small smile. I title my head in puzzlement. She doesn't have an accent of any kind, but it does explain the light blonde hair and blue eyes. Abby must have noticed my confusion. My sisters and I moved here when I was 5. But that I can notice the way Abby's tone of voice and posture changes. It is clearly something she doesn't want to talk about. So I give a small smile and understanding before turning back to my cool leather chair. Starting to feel tired. I snuggle into my seat, but then my stomach crumbles and I realized I hadn't eaten since this morning. Damn it. I practically scream in annoyance, and Grant nearly loses grip of the car as it wivels in the lane. What's wrong? Grant asks, concern in his voice. I become slightly self-conscious about my dramatic reaction. I cross my arms. I forgot my pretzels. I say as if I was a 5-year-old child. I shift my eyes to see Grant's face mixed with puzzlement yet irritation from my outburst. However, a few seconds later, Abby from the back bursts out laughing, and I shoot my head around to face her. I am wearing a pout, which makes her laugh even more, and I bite my lip trying to hold back my own giggles, but they eventually let loose and I laugh along with her. It seems the pretzels will just have to wait. Annoyingly, when arriving back at the pack house that late afternoon, Grant insisted that I go to drive Norton to make sure I was all right from the events of today. I tried not to, seeing how it was less than 24 hours since I had been there. Although I was thankful that Grant came along and explained everything and the situation that was my fault. I only received the quick examination of my neck and throat, as well as a joke about how drive Norton should assign a bed to me at the medical clinic since I was such a regular. I didn't think it was funny. After a good night's sleep, I woke up this morning refreshed and unexpectedly energized, just about ready to head downstairs. A knock on my bedroom door surprises me, but I get up to let them in nonetheless. Grant stands there, in a casual pair of washed-out jeans and a gray t-shirt. I smile when seeing him. Good morning, he says, rubbing his hands together in a nervous gesture. Do you mind if I come in and talk to you for a second? I shake my head with a smile, opening the door more as I turn around and walk back into my room to let him in. I spin back to see him inspecting my room. When shopping with Abby, did some new stuff to personalize my room, such as a nice new quilt cover of yellow and gray, as well as a matching lampshade on my bedside table. Grant's attention comes back to me, and I wait for him to say something. I just wanted to tell you, I will be leaving this afternoon. He starts off. I nod, still not sure as to why he is nervous about telling me this. Okay, when will you be back? I ask, assuming that there is a return date. 3 weeks so. I guess that my reaction is disappointment. I mean, it's not like Grant and I are close, but having him here is reassuring to me. And if I am honest, H is starting to grow on me. My disheartenment of him leaving must be showing on my face because he continues. I wouldn't leave if I didn't have to. But Caleb will be here to make sure everyone is safe and things remain normal. Vera and Abby will be coming with me. Another wave of disappointment as Abby won't be here. She is the closest person I know at the pack house. Although, I just remind myself that it's not forever. Where are going? I question, curious myself. Cypress back. He answers, the name registering to my attackers being from there yesterday. It was because of me, I begin to say, hoping that I haven't caused a dispute between packs. Grant cuts in no, but I will have a word with the Alpha about the way they treat potential rogues. He says, or to himself, his fists clenching in anger. It's another situation the packs around this area of New York are dealing with. Pack business. I bite my tongue. I understand it's not my business to know what other situation he is dealing with, but the way he said it was in a sense degrading me. I just give a nod, trying to muster a smile. With the exchange of goodbyes, Grant leaves to get ready for this afternoon. I remind myself to say goodbye to Abby. I'll miss her. I'll miss them both. Chapter 16. 2 days until I am officially 3 months pregnant. 2 hours until Abby and Grant will be back from their 3-week pack business trip. 2 minutes until Martha says the muffins will be ready. 2 seconds is the time it will take to devour one. It's been a nice 3 weeks, though I have gotten to know Annie and Sean better. I even got to babysit Lily, their 3-year-old daughter, a couple times. Her fairy party was postponed because Abby had to go away, which means the pack business trip was obviously a last-minute thing. But this morning when I got up, my growing baby bump was the most noticeable it has been. My shirt scowled and hide it any longer. It's just a round little bump that some of the other pack members, some of whom I have grown to know better, have been asking about. I state that I am pregnant, but I think it's best to not say that their Alpha is the father. I mean, that is up to Grant. The ding of the oven in the kitchen draws me back. I smile in excitement as Martha bustles to the oven, opening it and takes out the tray of freshly cooked white chocolate and blueberry muffins. She places them on the counter in front of me, as I am sitting on a high stool. About to reach for one, Martha swats my hand away. You have to wait 10 minutes for them to cool. She gives me a little playful scowl and I bite my lip. It's breakfast and a muffin is all I want. They're sitting there, like a mock temptation. As the minutes pass and the smell somehow becomes stronger, Dom, Martha's son, comes into the kitchen. Martha had disappeared into the pantry, as Dom seems to be looking around for her, but to make sure she isn't there. You're all clear. I tease and he smirks, coming closer to the counter I am sitting on. Although it's hard to get to know someone that can't talk. Dom seems to have a very mischievous personality. Having his tongue cut out must have been hard, but it seems he walks on the brighter side of life. He spots the muffins on the counter, giving me a questionable look. I smile at him, nodding my head towards the pantry where Martha is. His lips pull up into a cheeky grin, taking a muffin out of the tin. The sound of footsteps alerts Dom as he gives me a wink while taking a bite out of the muffin before disappearing out of the kitchen. Martha comes back, smiling as she sings an old Italian folk song of some sort. She reaches the counter and looks down at the tray. The song turns into a hum before she goes quiet. Her eyes focus onto the empty slot in the tin. Her eyes narrow on me, and I lift my hands up in surrender. Quirking an eyebrow up, it doesn't take less than several seconds for her face to turn sour. Dominic. She shrieks, darting out of kitchen. Good luck, Dom. Then, unexpectedly, the familiar face of Grant walks in. It seems nothing or no one is really coming on time today, hey. I greet, beaming because I am happy to see him. His eyes dart to mine, his own smile appearing on his face as he comes to join me. He is still the same Grant. Brown hair, pale green eyes, and tall, buff. Whoa, I want my hormones to slow down. Hey, how are you going? He asks, coming to lean on the counter, an overnight bag in his hand. I've been good. How did your travels treat you? I reply, kicking up a muffin, beginning to peel down the paper wrapper. Grant tilts his head side to side, as if weighing what to say. Things were put in place. It was successful, he says, giving me no details like usual. Itching to ask more. I don't get the chance before Grant continues. That reminds me, with the one hand holding the bag. The other Grant unzips it with and pulls out a crinkly item. He places it on the table before rummaging through his bag to find something else. I look closer at what appears to be a packet of food and my eyes widen when I see what they are. Pretzels. Shocked that he would remember. Since Grant left, I haven't been able to get any. Grant smiles. Well, they might be 3 weeks late, but... I cut him off by sliding my stool back, making a squeak but give him a thankful hug. Something I don't often do. But for some reason I had never been so happy to see pretzels. Grant seems surprised by my gesture, but eventually his free hand warps around me for a couple seconds before we pull away. Thank you. Grant chuckles. Don't thank me yet. He reaches into his bag to pull out another item. I also got you chocolate-covered ones. They were pretty popular at. His voice drifts off as his eyes are looking down at my torso, unaware of what he is looking at. I shoot my gaze from him to me and notice what he is staring at. My now lightly rounded stomach, not very well hidden by my shirt. Biting my lip. Unsure of what to say, I was thankful when I hear a whistle from behind Grant. I tilt my body to the side to see Abby there. Grant seeming like he is still shocked, I step around him to go greet Abby. We share a quick hug. I had missed her outgoing personality around here. By the time we had catch up, I had turned around to see Grant. Although only the pretzels were left behind. Tonight wasn't a good night. It seemed I'd cowled and get a good position for my body to relax. As I turned my head to the side, as it had been tossing-turning for a while now, I spot my new bag of pretzels. I softly smile at Grant's gesture of getting those for me. Even though when he saw my new baby bump, it was like he had witnessed an alien. As he said, he really is the kind of guy who has to see it to believe it. And maybe this was another bite of reality for him. I groan as I sit up, grab my bag of pretzels and head downstairs. Somehow I ended up with a jar of peanut butter and chocolate spread. With my bag of pretzels and dunking them in, it somehow worked really well. In the midst of my indulgence, a figure appears by the kitchen door. Grant spots me, as the coated pretzel in my hand is halfway to my open mouth. I muster a guilty smile, which he laughs at, coming to join me. Another midnight snack. He comments, scooting out a chair opposite me before sitting down. I shrug. I felt like it. I turned the bag of pretzels in his direction. Do you want to try one? Grant seems skeptical, before he reaches out and takes a pretzel. You know, I did get you chocolate-coated ones. No need for chocolate spread. Grant dips the pretzel in the peanut butter before the chocolate spread and raised it to his lips before eating it. I know, but I saved those for another day. I watch him chew. Good. Right. His face morphs into confusion from the flavors before he swallows. His Adam's apple bobbing up down. Well, not half bad. But I think he'll let you enjoy them. Suppressing a laugh, I turn the bag towards me and start another dunking process. Why are you up so late? Grant squints his eyes at me. Why are you up so late? Cal didn't sleep. I retort back. Cal didn't sleep. He states with a smirk and I shake my head with a smile. Grant always has a teasing charm about him when he wants to show it. Just like the night we first met. Knowing I won't get a straight answer from him, I changed the topic. I was meaning to discuss with him sometime anyway. There was something I wanted to ask you actually. Grant lifts his gaze to mine. He nods for me to continue. My first ultrasound is this Friday. I was wondering if you wanted to come. Grant seems surprised by the offer, but I can see him tried it. We might not be together, but he is still the father and he should be involved if he wants to be. But then my face turns surprised when Grant smiles. An actual genuine smile. And I would know because I have only witnessed a few. Yeah. What time? I give him the time, which is around midday. And for the rest of the hour we are up. We talk. If I bring up the baby, he becomes all quiet. I can see it's not his favorite topic. But we have plenty of time to talk about the baby. And I think that is what Grant needs. Time. Chapter 17. How are we doing today? Brooke. Is the first thing drive? Norton asks me as I step into his private office, accompanied with Grant. It's Friday, around midday, and it's time for my 12-week ultrasound. When I met Grant in the waiting room this morning, it seemed he was more nervous than me. I'm good. Excited but nervous. I state, coming to sit down on a chair in front of his desk as he sits behind it. Drive. Norton smiles. That's understandable. He then turns his head towards Grant, who is now seated in the chair beside mine. But I see you brought company today. It's good to see you here, Alpha. I turn my gaze to Grant, who musters a small smile with the nod of his head. He'll just do some routine checks before we move on to the ultrasound. Drive. Norton gets up from his seat and moves around to me. After that, he takes my blood pressure and my weight. When everything seems fine, he instructs me to lie down on the exam table, opposite to his desk. Through the whole thing so far, Grant seems uncomfortable, out of place, as if he had just landed on the moon. But he doesn't say anything as he comes to sit on a chair beside me, rubbing his palms together. I think I have found Grant's indicator when he's nervous. He'll just have to wheel the ultrasound machine over. Won't be a moment. Drive. Norton states before walking in the other direction at the door. As my head is lying on a pillow, I turn it to look at Grant. His face is so full of worry it's hard not to laugh. I roll my eyes as I make a decision of reaching out with my hand towards Grant's firm frown. With my thumb and pointer finger, I touch the side of his lips and lift them up to a smile. When this happens, Grant seems confused and looks down to see what I am doing. I smile at my work before Grant gently grabs my wrist and pulls my hand away, his frown returning. What are you? You should smile more. I tease, smirking. However, I am met with a flat look from Grant. What? But the amount of tension in your face, you will have wrinkles well before you're 40. I am 40, Grant says dryly. My smile vanishes as I whip my head to the side. My eyes grow wide in shock, as he remains the same. But after a long 5 seconds, he cracks a grin before laughing. I'm 28. Brooke. He confirms, and I find myself sighing in relief. I'm quiet, offended you thought that was true. I stumble on my next words, not wanting to sound rude, but luckily Drive. Norton was just walking back and wheeling in a machine. Give her a break. Some werewolves age a lot slower than others, while some the same rate as humans. I had heard that before and seen it as well. But just the idea of Grant being 40 freaked me out. Don't get me wrong. I respect different aged couples, but Grant doesn't look anything like a 40-year-old man. And I think I would be too childish to be with one, as I tilt my head back towards Grant and poke my tongue at him. He gives me a scowl as my attention goes back. Drive. Norton, I'll just have to ask you to lift up your shirt for me. Brooke. As I do that, Drive. Norton walks over to beside the closed door and turns the lights off. The lack of light makes me blink my eyes a few times before they adjust. Drive. Norton walks back over to me. He picks up a bottle under the monitor and control panel on the wheelie cart which the machine is on. I'll just have to put some gel on your stomach to make it easier. Sorry, it might be cold. I jump slightly as the light blue tinted gel is smeared on my slightly rounded stomach. It is cold. Drive. Norton puts the bottle back before picking up a wand, with a rotating ball at one end and the other has a wire connecting to the screen. Let's see if I can find this baby. I might be a bit rusty. He teases as he places the wand on my stomach. I can understand what he means by rusty. Annie has explained to me that not many children are born at this pack. My eyes land on the screen that now has flashed to life as a bright muddle of black and white. The wand goes to the lower part of my stomach, and that's when Drive. Norton stops. Found the baby, he exclaims, and I squint at the screen, obviously not seeing what Drive. Norton sees. You can see the head here. He points at a little shape of black at the bottom of a white circle, our silhouette. I had seen pictures like this in my pregnancy book, but this picture was different. This picture of a little peanut shape was of my baby. There's the body. His finger glides down the screen from the head to the torso. And then you can see the arms and legs. I watch the monitor as my brain goes into emotional overdrive. As if this surreal moment is actually happening. But I nearly feel like pinching myself to make sure that I am witnessing my first sight of my child. Now if I can remember drive. Norton mumbles to himself as he turns to the control panel, clicking things, and I hear it. The sound of a rapidly beating heart is sounded in the room. I smile while I am listening to it. Somehow it making this experience more real. As if I had forgotten. I feel a squeeze of my hand and turn my head over to Grant. I hadn't even realized that he was still holding my hand from when I tried to put a forceful smile on his face. His face doesn't look like it's built with worry. It is filled with wonder. Another new expression I have now seen on him. Our eyes meet, and when he smiles at me, I knew then that I was going to be alone in this. Not anymore. Chapter 18. I Calden have walked out of drive. Norton's office happier, as he had said the baby was developing on track and was healthy. He also managed to print a few pictures off of the ultrasound, which I am currently holding. I better head back to my office. I have to sort some things out by the end of the day. Grant says, causing me to look up from the photos. I see his eyes tilt down to my hands. Do you mind if I have one of those? I smile at him. Of course you can. I hand him a picture and he gladly takes it. Looking at it for a second. Does this help with your? I have to see it to believe it. Grant rolls his eyes with a chuckle. It does, thank you. I will see you later at dinner. Defiantly, thanks for coming. Thanks for inviting me. He smiles. We share a weird moment between each other. As if neither of us want to say good. And there are words that we want to say but don't know what. But Grant sighs, pulling his gaze from mine. Saying goodbye, he turns and walks away. I didn't realize I was holding my breath until I saw him vanish from my sight. After returning to my room for a quick nap, an hour later I head back downstairs to go for a little walk. I had decided to do this once a day just to get out and about. I don't like being cooped up in the house all day. Walking down the stairs of the front porch, I am greeted with Abby. Hello. How did the appointment go? She asked. Really well. Everything is going smoothly. Abby smiles. I just saw Grant, he was in a good mood. I furrow my eyebrows. How do you know that? For starters, when I told him I accidentally stuffed up the training roster for the next month, he didn't yell at me. She explains and I chuckle. Grant and Abby working together has always been on the rocks, but I was to hear her say that. Abby nods to me. Where are you off to? Just for a walk. Care to join me? I reply and Abby looks hopeful all of a sudden. Actually, I was wondering if you could show me that move. Abby continues as she sees my face of no recognition. How you got out of a headlock? My eyes widen in remembrance. Oh sure. Is there a place we can go? Around the back will be fine. Abby leads me to the back of the house. Some tables and benches are scattered around, but we find a good size area of hazard-free ground. I make sure she understands that I am not going to be her test subject for a demonstration, but she says she doesn't need that today. Well, first thing first is that this move isn't always going to work. I inform her first. You did to a werewolf, Brooke. I think it works a treat. She says, but I just shake my head. Well, that's because he wasn't expecting to it. I mention. Most of the time the attacker's strength goes through his arms and upper body when performing a headlock, and they forgot about their legs, which is their support. Abby nods along as I continue. It's easier to flip them over your body if you're on your knees, but you have to be more careful if you're on your own feet. I instruct Abby on where to stand, showing where she should distribute her weight when flipping a person over her body, especially if someone's arm is around your neck. Make sure your back is straight and neck is as straight as possible. Use your full body weight and your legs to flip them. Otherwise, you're at risk of a strained back to a crushed windpipe. Abby smiles smugly at me. She points to herself. Werewolf. I smile back. pointing at myself. Human. I don't want to snap my neck. Abby rolls her eyes at me with a playful smile before the back door is being opened. Caleb emerges with another beside him, who I remember as Rick from the BBQ. Caleb spots us, giving us a smile, and I turn to Abby. She is already moving his way, turning her head back towards me and winking. Abby, I try and stop her, but she is already talking with Caleb. Do you mind helping me with something, Caleb? She asks, playing all innocent, but Caleb, knowing her, glares at her. What kind of help? He questions, looking between Abby and me. I've just learned a new defense move. I need to try it out. I'll need your help, Abby says. Caleb still seems skeptical but nods his head anyway. I try and keep my face neutral. I mean, Abby just learned this move and Caleb isn't any normal guy, he has muscle packed out him. Abby instructs Caleb to grip her in a headlock. About to ask questions, he just shrugs before wrapping one arm around Abby and his hand wedged between his fully bent elbow. He seems to be squeezing her throat as Abby looks like she is slightly struggling. Her eyes meet mine and I give you a little nod of my head. In seconds she lurches forward with strength I didn't know. Caleb has a face full of surprise before he is rolling over her back and hitting the ground like a sack of potatoes. There's dumb silence for a couple seconds. Surprised that Abby had managed to learn how to do that so quickly. Abby is smiling, looking down at Caleb, who is on his back groaning. Who the hell taught you how to do that? I look to see Abby nod her head towards me. Caleb sits up and turns his head to me, questions written all over his face. But then he laughs, shaking his head. Right, like she would know how to do that. Anger washes over me as he says this. What makes you think I am not capable? I spit out and this brings a smug smile on his face. Caleb gets up from the ground with another groan, rubbing his hands to get rid of the dirt. I'm sorry, Ms. Halfling, but I don't see you strong enough to perform such a skill on a werewolf. My anger gets the best of me as I am already storming to him. Abby is too late to stop me. Caleb looks at me, a smirk on his lips. This was before I grabbed his wrist, twisting his arm back in the wrong angle and pushing it to its limits. I hold his shoulder with my other hand, my face close to his. I might not be strong like you, but I have ways to defend myself. I push a little harder, causing his contorted face to wince more in pain. The person who trained me taught me this move could cause a simple strain or to breaking your arm so bad that you bones shatter in so many pieces not even a werewolf-esque healing could piece them back together. So what are you waiting for? He grits out, still managing to smirk at me. Call me halfling again, and you'll find out. I whisper, releasing him with a shove to the shoulder. He steps back, rubbing his arm, and I don't wait as I turn around, heading to the front of the pack house again. Brooke, wait. He Rabby following after me. A quick look to my left to see that a small crowd had appeared to watch the drama. I'm just going to go for a walk on the forest trail. I'll be back. I sigh and don't wait for a reply as I walk around the front porch to the start of the forest trail to the side of the house. What started out as a great day was turning out to be the worst. It is quiet in the forest. Listening to the birds and the wind calms the mixed emotions of rage and humiliation. Halfling, the one word I hate more than anything. The one word people called me to hurt me. When I grew up in my pack, they called me it to make me feel like I didn't belong. Like I was an outsider. And part of me always knew they were right. I cowled and shift, I was just human. Yet with dormant werewolf genes. Halfling, nothing important. Dust in between. 8-week snapping scares me out of my thoughts as I turn my head towards the direction of the forest trail. I see a person approaching and groan to myself as Grant's broad figure comes closer. He is the last person I want to see right now. I turn my body in the opposite direction as he finally comes to slowly sit down beside me on the bench. I stay silent and waiting for him to talk. I've just had a conversation with a very furious Caleb. Grant states. I grunt a laugh. Of course he would go running to his alpha. I think bitterly. What? Did I hurt his ego? I say causally, but regret it. I am part of the reason Caleb was captured by S. He shouldn't have acted like he did. but I shouldn't have come back at him. Grant sighs frustratingly. I still don't turn to face him. Brooke, I am trying to understand why you, in Caleb's words, attacked him. Because he called me a halfling. I murmur, knowing Grant and his werewolf senses to be able to hear it. So you nearly broke his arm because he called you a name you didn't like. He says, as if he was talking to a child, which gets me angry again. I don't like to be reminded of the name. You think it's being an outsider. I spit out. Grant partially growls his next words. You think it's easy being a shadow. I open my mouth to say a reply, but no words come out. Silence follows as I think about Grant's words. The shadow breed was hunted, and when he told me his parents are dead, part of me was surprised. There are very few left of the black werewolf they name shadows. I don't care about Caleb and his loud mouth. Grant seems to have calmed down, but I do care about the other people of the pack who saw you and Caleb, and what they now think of you. And what do they think of me? I whisper, a small part of me afraid to ask. They know you came from S. Oh. They're just wondering what side you were on. My body goes rigid. Part of me is upset on how the others feel, and then I have this urge to tell the truth. I should tell Grant about that night we met. It's like a big bubble forming at my throat that I need to blurt out. But Caleb being involved makes me stop. I still don't know who's to blame in getting my brother captive in S. Or his own fault or someone in this pack. I slowly turn around to finally face Grant. He sits hunched forward and resting his forearms on his upper legs. He turns to meet my eyes. I gape at him, about to say the words, but he speaks first. I told them otherwise. I reminded them we all come from different backgrounds with different stories, and we are here now. The past shouldn't matter. The moment is gone to tell the truth. His words sinking in. Thank you. Just stay clear of Caleb for a while. Help me to build his ego back up again. Grant teases and I laugh. Well, that might take a while. I smirk and Grant shakes his head, getting up from the bench. He extends his hand to me and I take it as he helps me up. After that we walk back to the pack house, discussing what we hope Martha will be making for dinner tonight.